Welcome back to the Modus Super Series. We've got two real contrasting groups on this Saturday night. One was absolutely dominated by Marvin van Velzen. No dramas for him whatsoever. But the other group has seen only the fourth 9-dart shootout in the history of the Modus Super Series. 4-3 wins to Anton Ersland, Scott Taylor and Kurt Parry in Group 1 means that we will have that shootout in a few minutes' time. In Group 2, Marvin van Velzen got through to the semi-finals without dropping a leg. Scott Baker got the better Mark Dudbridge by 4 legs to one of those. The two players that will make it through to the semi-finals, and they haven't got an idea who they are going to play. We'll find that out in a few moments' time through a 9-dart shootout. So that's how the first group is going to be determined, because every single game went 4-3. Now, the order of throw will be decided by a bull-up backstage. Each player will throw 9 darts, and the highest 2 scoring players will qualify for the semi-finals. Should 2 or more players be tied on points, each player will throw 3 more darts until the result. That has happened here before as well. So, Scott Taylor won the bullseye. He has decided to go second. Anton Ersland had the second choice. He decided to go first. Kurt Parry, as a result, was left with no choice. He will finish last. Now, Paul Nicholson is here alongside me. Let's talk about the intricacies of a 9-dart shootout. Now, it's happened at the Grand Slam before. It's happened here a few times before. What is the key towards being successful? I know the easy thing would be saying to score big, but what are the small intricacies about something like this?
Let's face one fact here. This is not something that you're going to face very many times in your career. And I suppose Kurt Parry, even though he didn't have a choice as to where he's throwing, because he's been through it before and succeeded, he'll probably think, I've got the ace up the sleeve. Nothing really prepares you for this. And it might be something that you never have to do. But the fact that they are in this situation now, their mentality, their nerves, and their composure are going to be tested, and over the shortest possible format of less than a leg. And some people have said to me in the past, this isn't fair. This is 101 games over the course of a week coming down to 9 darts each. It's just like a penalty shootout. I think it's incredibly fair.
Is the hardest bit about it the unknown element for a lot of players? And is there a possibility that panic can set in?
I think in some cases we could possibly say yes. We don't have a great deal of information to go on from previous 9-dart shootouts. But what I can say definitively, that I've only ever seen one big mistake, and that was when Richie Howson was in a 9-dart shootout. He should have gone for the bullseye with the last dart. He didn't. It cost him. He didn't qualify. So when we look at the previous one with Kurt Parry, with Jimmy Van Schie, and with Darryl Pilgrim, if you score a 180, for instance, you can't rest on thinking that that's going to get you through, because it didn't work for Darryl.
We saw that from Darryl, didn't we, last time?
Exactly. So you've got to be switched on and focused for every single dart you throw. If you aren't, you might be 1 dart short.
Kurt Parry's got experience before. You can see in that graphic there, he played in the previous one. How much of an advantage could that be for him?
I've got to think it's an advantage. The way that Kurt is as a person, he's incredibly relaxed. He will go into a situation like that thinking, I've got enough in my arsenal when it comes to the grey matter between the ears that I can get through this. I've got the talent, I've got the composure, I will get this done. He was up against 2 of the best players we've ever had in the Modus Super Series, and he still came through it. He's up against Scott Taylor in this one, and Anton Ersland, both who have won a week. He's the only one who hasn't won a week, but he's the only one who's been in this situation. So it's a fascinating dynamic.
Scott Taylor won the bullseye and went second. Is that the best position to be in your opinion?
Well, I'm fascinated that Scott decided to go second. That's almost saying, I don't want to lead off, and I don't want to have to throw my last visit knowing what I have to score. It's almost as if you have a little bit of information based on player 1, and you're setting your stall out for someone to catch you. It's probably the right move, in my opinion.
Is it almost playing safe? Because, look, only the top 2 get through. So you kind of know what the first player's going to do. You know that, right, that's the target score. But then you haven't got that pressure of the last player knowing, right, I know what that player and that player's done. You're almost playing yourself in a safe house and just trying to, as much as possible, just get yourself in no matter what, and you just deal with the semi-finals later.
It's the right move. I think if you were in that situation, if I was in that situation, if Glenn was in that situation, we'd all do the same. And we can speculate as to what other people have decided to do in the past, but you've got to give him credit first and foremost. He won the bullseye. That in itself is a nerve-wracking situation. That's the first bull shoot-off they've had all week. Scott Taylor won it. So having the confidence of winning that and having the choice, it might just give him the edge.
Is it as simple as the power scores do the job?
Not necessarily, because it wasn't good enough for Pilgrim, was it? We've had people in the past who have needed big scores at the right times, and they've done it. I remember Ryan Finesse getting a 180 in his 9-dart shootout, the very first one a couple of years ago. But this is not necessarily about power scorers. It's about who holds it together.
Well, the 9-dart shootout is about to get underway here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. 3 players. Only Kurt Parry knows this situation before. It looks like the calm before the storm, and it very much is going to be a storm here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth. Myself and Paul Nicholson are going to enjoy this one in the studio. I'm sure the players aren't going to enjoy this one bit whatsoever. It's only the 4th ever 9-dart shootout in the history of the Modus Super Series. And in the commentary box to describe this one, going through all the rules and permutations, is Glenn Durrant.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. Great job between the pair of you. I think excellent analysis. My little bit to add to it is it could be a little bit about mindset now, so think positively. Don't start looking at plan B and C just too early. Believe in your ability. This is something that you can't practice for. It's something that you can't really teach. And a big thing that you never mentioned there is one thing. It's so important. It's simple. Just make sure that you breathe, because you'll feel tense in this type of situation. Just let that arm, let that ability do the work. Look, I'm excited. The crowd look really up for this. And for them players, there'll be a few jitters. I'm sure there'll be thrills and spills throughout this one. Just looking back at the incredible 180 there from Daryl Pilgrim and not qualifying. Consistency, finding that treble. You can just see the fist pumps going ahead now, but this is the time to get into your zone now. You can see Scott Taylor doing everything right. It was a decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a result of the 3-way tie in Group 1 this evening, there will now be a 9-dart shootout. The highest 2 scores will progress to the semi-finals. First to throw is Anton Ersland.
Can I offer my best of luck to the 3 players? This first start will be a bit like a golf shot at the Open.
$59.
That'll be to the delight. So the mindset now is 1 treble. Interesting, all going low as well.
64.
Effectively just beating the score of Osland. Going low.
100.
Advantage parry. Crowd involvement. Big, deep, sharp intake of breath. He's cool, calm, and collected.
140.
And that will help in this situation. He won the bullseye, decided to go second. What a killer dart that last one is. It was advantage parry after the first one. 65 points will put him into second position going into the last. 1 treble will be enough. 65 points would be enough to take him in front. 65 he score. All to play for, but it's a super Swede in front.
64.
Look at those scores. 100 apiece for Taylor and Parry. And they're through. Stay straight. Taylor is through to the semi-finals. Bottle. That's what that was all about. 99 points needed.
26.
The player of the week, Kurt Parry,
won the 9-dart shootout.
is out.
Anton Ersland also moves on.
The super Swede, Anton Ersland. And with that 180 at the end there from Scott Taylor, what a sad moment that we see the end of Kurt Parry. He was the player of the week. Let's reflect on that. Let's go back to the studio. Let's discuss what's just happened with Paul Nicholson and Henry Deacon.